Hello everyone, xforts here, and welcome to Chainsaw Man Chapter 105 review and discussion. I apologize, I'm a little late on this one. I definitely haven't been playing Splatoon 3 for 7 hours a day since it came out. But anyway, a really fun chapter this week, or rather last week, that has an unexpected twist from the new character Yuko, who continues to be probably my favorite in part 2 so far, as well as one of, if not the most insane cliffhanger in the entire series. That's just like, what we expected from this character versus what we got in this chapter is just a complete 180, and I love how Fujimoto is just continuing to play with the genre, the tone, and all of the characters in part 2, and really making it something entirely different from part 1 while still connected. So yeah, seeing the change in Yuko by the end of this chapter, and potentially maybe even being one of the first major arcs of part 2, and maybe even the first enemy that Asa needs to defeat on her own with Yoru. Really exciting stuff. We'll get into a little bit later in the chapter review, of course. And before we can even get into 105, we have like a rap sheet here of all of the news and announcements of Chainsaw Man within the past 2 weeks after its accusations of being, the illest adaptation in the game. So starting off here, Chainsaw Man anime is airing next week. Actually, next week on Tuesday, which is just going to be a few days after this review goes live. So very exciting. I'm sure you guys all know October 11th, October 10th in Japan is when we're going to see that first episode. Also, there was an event 2 weeks ago and then a PV this week, and there's been like a lot of discussion and controversy around the adaptation, just really in the past 14 days. So there was the leak of the first episode, and not the full first episode, but there was an early screening where someone was recording on their phone. You have this really crappy quality of Denji transforming, and there's a little bit of CGI, and people were losing their minds, being like, the adaptation's over, it's ruined, Mappa's ruining it, false advertising, there was no CGI in any other trailers, but it's like, gosh. And then that controversy lasted for, I don't know, maybe 24 hours, and then another PV came out where they showed that scene in full quality, and yes, it was CGI, but it still looked amazing. And if you guys really thought that the Chainsaw Man anime adapted by Mappa, where if you thought there was going to be no CGI in the adaptation, get your head out of your ass. It's Mappa. They use CGI all the time, and they use it in really clever ways most of the time to make it look good as possible while still keeping the production moving smoothly. So clearly they're putting a lot of time and resources and money and talent into Chainsaw Man, and from everything we've seen so far, it's going to be an absolute killer adaptation, even if there is a little bit of CGI in some scenes, like when Denji's transforming and he has this mechanical head that's really detailed. Of course, some elements need to be CG at some times, and I don't know, it's all just going to work to make the animation flow smoothly or whatever. So we shouldn't worry about anything like that, and I'm just really excited to see that first episode. Also, the opening song was announced to be Kickback by Kenshi Onezu. I was unfamiliar with this artist. I did not know of him, so I did some research, and I saw that the only other anime opening he's done to my knowledge was My Hero Academia opening 2, Peace Sign, so go ahead and look that up if you haven't heard it. And it sounds a lot different, or at least Kickback, the opening for Chainsaw Man, sounds a lot different from his other music. It definitely had a grungy, poppy, punky vibe to it, as well as an insane BPM. It sounds like it might have even been produced by Kensuke Ushio, who is the composer of the whole anime soundtrack. So it would be really interesting if he was actually involved with the production of the opening. But as for the tone of it, the vocals, it's very youthful and scratchy, and like I said, punky. So I was expecting something more something heavier, some heavy riffs, something more in the metalcore genre for the Chainsaw Man opening. I just thought that would be really awesome, being a fan of heavier music myself. But now we're getting more of a stereotypical, Jujutsu Kaisen vibe. When you hear it, I mean, besides from all the backtracking and all the extra sounds and the really fast BPM, it sounds like it could be an anime opening for something like a Jujutsu Kaisen, but still sounds really cool. I'm excited to hear the full song. Haven't heard all of it, of course. So Kickback is the opening song. Awesome. As well as This came out of nowhere. I'm sure most of you guys saw this, but the Chainsaw Man anime is going to be 12 episodes the first season, as well as it's going to have 12 unique endings, which is just completely unheard of in my decade of watching anime seasonal and just seeing a lot of anime. I have never heard of an adaptation getting 12 unique ending songs and ending visuals. I think it's going to be as well. And it's not only it's getting 12 ending songs. That's pretty cool. We've seen something like that before with Dorohedoro, which had, I think, not an ending song it was every 2 episodes the ending switched, so in total I think that had about 6 or 7 endings, but it was all done by No Name. It was all done by one artist or collaborating artist. But the thing that makes these 12 endings so special is that they're being done by some of the biggest like names in the anime music scene in Japan and just the music scene in general. First of all, starting with Maximum the Hormone, who is going to, everyone wanted Maximum the Hormone to do the opening. Everyone thought that would be perfect. If you don't know them, they do What's Up People, Zetsubo Billy, a lot of songs in like the Death Note opening 2 and Death Note ending 1, I think. So yeah, it's Maximum the Hormone. If you don't know them, they're like Japanese System of a Down. They're fucking awesome. And when I saw that they were going to be doing an ending song, it was like, oh, I wish that was the opening, but I'll take the ending either way. Don't worry, guys. We'll get to 105 in a minute. There's just a lot of stuff to talk about here. But also, included with Maximum the Hormone, the ending songs, we have Eve, Amir, who did Torches in Vinland Saga, Queen Bee, which I'm not familiar with, Zudo Mayo, TK, which you guys know is my favorite, of course, Vondi and People One, and a few other artists I'm unfamiliar with. But in general, we have some absolute bangers in store for 12 weeks here. And what's so crazy about this is that, at least to my knowledge, these 12 songs have not been released yet by the individual artists. So these are also going to be 12 new songs that are releasing simultaneously with the anime, which is just insane how much like collaboration needed to go in with these artists with the anime. And it's really awesome seeing Chainsaw Man get almost like this special treatment from MAPPA and getting so much more resources and like hype put into it than their other series, which I guess can be a little unfair. But if anything, that's a testament to Chainsaw Man's source material and how it resonates with so many people. And even like a lot of other, colleagues to Fujimoto, like other mangaka and a lot of other like big artists respect Chainsaw Man and Fujimoto's work a lot, which again is just a testament to how amazing the series is. It might seem naive on the surface where people are like, oh, it's a story about a guy who wants to touch boobs, but when you really break it down and you see how much Fujimoto crafts the writing and the characters and the interactions and puts his life influences into the manga, it's really something special, guys. So besides the 12 ending songs, which is going to be absolutely insane, last thing, also the Maximum the Hormone song is also going to be an insert song, which is going to be playing during episodes. So I really hope it's something really heavy, fast-paced. It's Maximum the Hormone, of course it's going to be. Also, what else do we have here? So the anime is going to be 12 episodes. That means it's going to end probably at the end of the Katana Man arc. I was going to say maybe in the middle, but I don't know why they would do that. We'll probably get right up to the end of the Katana Man arc, and that will lead into Bomb Girl for season 2. And the last thing to talk about is that Chainsaw Man Volume 12 just released in Japan with Yoro on the cover. So yeah, if you're a manga collector, if you want to like own a physical manga of Chainsaw Man, go ahead and pick that up. It probably won't get translated into English for at least 3 or 4 months, probably a little bit longer from Viz's part. But that's cool that it's not being serialized as like Chainsaw Man Part 2 Volume 1. It's just continuing on into Volume 12. So that's good to see. And I think that's about everything we have to discuss for the past 2 weeks of Chainsaw Man content. So yeah, very exciting. The hype train is chugging along full steam ahead, and it's just really, really crazy that Chainsaw Man is getting this special treatment of, I just cannot believe that, 12 unique ending songs and visuals from some artists I love, like TK, Amir, and Maximum the Hormone. It's mind-blowing, and I cannot wait until next Tuesday, and it's going to be an awesome 12 weeks. So with all of that exciting news out of the way, we can finally get back to Chainsaw Man chapter 105 review and discussion. So, this chapter is pretty light. It is only 20 pages, as well as I found the content itself moved pretty quickly as well. But the reason why everyone's discussing this chapter, and it's so exciting, is pretty much because what happens in the last 6-7 pages of it, where Fujimoto completely twists what we thought Yuko's character was going to be, and now she's set up to be potentially the first villain, something that Asa might have to deal with, or just an issue that has clearly arisen, and it's just very fun what Fujimoto has done with her, yeah, it's definitely just not what I expected. Also, the scene of the chapter isn't very, exhilarating or anything like that. It's one of those slower chapters, and the slower chapters tended between Asa and Yuko, so it's cool seeing that relationship blooming as well, or potentially at the end of this chapter fizzling and destroying. So we pick up right where we left off at chapter 104 when Asa was talking to Denji, and she, Denji's like, I'm Chainsaw Man, I gotta let her know, and then Asa calls Denji a loser straight to his face, and she just walks out, and we actually surprisingly pick up literally right where that chapter left off with Asa walking away, and just a little bit of Yoro and Asa interactions, nothing too, revolutionary, and just, I don't know, I like seeing Yoro. She reminds me the most of Power, if that makes any sense. Like, Yoro originally was just kind of like this demon in Asa's mind telling her to do bad things, forcing her to do certain things, and sort of like this enemy role, but seeing her become more of like a frenemy now to Asa is getting interesting. And I don't know, something about this chapter is seeing like her airhead nature, how hostile she is, but how sometimes she's not really serious about these hostile threats. It just reminds me a lot of Power from part 1. I'm seeing more of that in Yoro, and I don't know, I'm starting to like Yoro kind of a little bit, even if that sounds pretty bad, because Yoro is kind of Asa's worst enemy. But pretty much it's just Yoro being like, did you just say he's Chainsaw Man and Asa's like, dude, you have no social skills whatsoever, because if you remember, that's the whole reason why Asa's even alive, is because Yuro wanted to get closer to Denji and Chainsaw Man, but didn't really know how to talk to people or blend in with people, so she's using Asa to sort of infiltrate the school. So the first like 5 pages of this chapter is just that short interaction between Asa and Yuro, nothing too remarkable, although it ends in a kind of interesting way with Asa walking away from the conversation thinking maybe I can actually tame her, because Asa had called Yuro stupid, Yuro got really upset by that, and then she actually like sort of reverse manipulated Yuro in a way. You know, Yuro wanted to go devil hunting, needed to find a way to like closer to Chainsaw Man, so Asa was like, hey, you're a smart person, why don't you think about it? And Yuro was like, I am smart, maybe I should think of a plan. So Asa's like in her head is like, that actually works from like reverse psychology. If I tell her what she wants to hear, maybe I can actually control her in some way. Although I don't know how Fujimoto is going to continue to do this, because he wrote earlier how it's like all their thoughts are connected. Every thought Asa had, yours shares as well. So even this little speech bubble right here inside Asa's head where it's like, maybe I can actually tame her, is just like, I don't know if Fujimoto is going to continue to that very strictly, where Asa really can't have any of her own thoughts, but I don't know, just maybe a little foreshadowing of how Asa is potentially going to be able to take control of Yoro. But now we get into the second half of the chapter, which is the remaining part of the chapter, where it's Asa going to check up on Yuko after their interaction with the Bat Devil, as she broke her leg, and then she, I guess, went to school that same day and met Denji, and now she's going to check on Yuko after school. And this is where that twist slowly starts to reveal itself, where we see Asa and Yuko having a conversation. I won't bore you with all the details, but pretty much they're just talking about being friends and what friends do. And when you think Asa, when we first met her, is that, or not Asa, but Yuko, when we first met Yuko, it's like, Yuko is awesome, dude. She's like the best friend. She's just what Asa needs. She knows how to be personable. She knows how to lift Asa up when she's feeling bad. Like, super charismatic. That could be a good friend that knows how to talk to people. But now in this chapter, it turns out that that's not exactly who Yuko is. And Yuko's actually a goddamn psychopath, where it's like, Asa's like, I thought you have a lot of friends, Yuko, don't you? And Yuko's like, you know what? I don't have a lot of friends. I talk to people in school, but no one ever really wants to talk to me or never really checks up on me. Reversing what we thought about Yuko, where we thought she was this super charming person, but she actually is not understanding of people whatsoever. In fact, as we see later in the chapter, she actually obtains a power that helps her combat this downside of it, something that she's not able to do. So I could bore you guys with the details of pretty much everything in this chapter, where Asa talks about how she peed her pants or whatever, but I do consider these more reviews, so I don't necessarily think I need to cover every little piece of dialogue and every page of it. So let's just get into it. Let's just talk about what you guys came here to talk about, and it's with Yuko's character. And it's the fact that she killed her neighbor, and it killed the person that probably didn't deserve to die, as well as that she made a contract with the Justice Devil, and she now has the ability to read people's minds, as the Justice Devil gives you a power equal to your sense of justice. So apparently Yuko has a pretty strong sense of justice, so she was granted this pretty powerful ability of being able to read minds. And besides, I guess, just that actual context of the chapter, in terms of like the paneling and page layout, it definitely is just that classic Fujimoto sort of, he did this a lot in Goodbye Eri, he did it a lot in Fire Punch as well. Pretty much all of his manga have at least one chapter or scene like this, where it is a pretty much 3 or 4 pages of repeating panels. This is only a double page spread, but you have Asa on the left and Yuko on the right. And when Yuko is telling her, so she's like, hey, we're besties tell secrets. I got no secret about you. So Asa's like, well, I peed my pants one time, and I told people it was sweat, and it was really embarrassing. And whenever I think about it, I want to like scream underwater, whatever. And then Yuko's like, that's really funny. I'll tell you a secret too. I murdered my neighbor yesterday, and his body's in my backyard. And just the fact of how like nonchalant she said it and how naive she's being, it's like, yeah, Yuko is actually just a full-on sociopath. She's a psycho. How are we going to deal with this character? So you have that scene where they're just like, you see Asa's expression being like really happy, being like, yeah, now you tell me a secret. And as Yuko is being like, so I killed someone, I did all this. At first, Asa's like, she's probably kidding. And then as the conversation continues, you see Asa smile, just like, and every single descending panel just turn into like a blank expression, and we get this double page spread of Yuko looking totally normal, being like, talking to my friend, and then Asa just like literally just like absolutely flabbergasted by what she just heard from Yuko, just like, man spreading out, blank expression. Really funny panel. I really like that one a lot. It shows like the contrast between the two. And just how Asa is like, Asa has the expression of like a lot of the readers right now, like, holy shit. And then that's followed up by Yuko revealing that she did make a contract with the Justice Devil, who is actually a devil that we've seen before in part 2, as the class president was also contracted with the Justice Devil. And since I guess the class president didn't have a very strong sense of justice, her ability, I don't even know what the ability was really. We just saw it transform into a bunch of heads, and it just kind of turned into a devil monster that was physically strong or something, but we see that Yuko doesn't have that ability at all. I don't think Yuko could even control the devil in any way like that or have any physical powers to it. She can only read people's minds from what we see right here, which is even funnier to think that Yuko is just running around like reading people's minds and then deciding to kill them probably just with tools or weapons, which is pretty brutal in a way. And when I mentioned way earlier in the beginning of the chapter how Fujimoto is continuing to like, I don't know, sort of play with the genre and the tone of Chainsaw Man Part 2, it's because like in any other manga, pretty much like I'm thinking of JoJo as an example. Like I know Araki would never write a character like this. Like he's very strict to being like, you know, if we're gonna have a protagonist or if we're gonna have a character that people root for, they need to be morally correct, like morally aligned in like lawful good area. Obviously you can get into more like chaotic neutral, but once you get to like chaotic evil, that's more villain territory. But I like how Fujimoto is like just this innocent schoolgirl who we thought Yuko, which a very likable character, and everyone was like, please don't kill her. It turns out that, you know, she's now a murderer on the loose. I think, yeah, the person she killed too definitely like did not deserve to die. She was like her neighbor. She killed him because he was gambling at a pachinko machine, even though he was on like welfare disability. So she's like, oh, this guy's like pretty brutal stuff, being like, oh, this guy's just a leech on society, you know, gambling at pachinko, even though he's on welfare. Yeah, let me just kill him. So it's like, holy shit, Yuko. And then by the end of this chapter, she's like, also, I'm reading your mind. Also, I see that you're being bullied in school. And then it reveals at the end where Fujimoto, with his like, you know, very young humor, says, I'm going to get rid, or at least Yuko says, I'm going to get rid of your bullying problem. Don't come to school tomorrow. Like being, I don't know, just the fact that Fujimoto would write that. And I know I say that a lot, that I think Fujimoto is a younger author and he's very much in touch with like, you know, younger humor and sort of like the self-awareness and self-deprecating nature of a lot of like young people's humor and what people find funny, and sort of like a way to cope with a lot of like the messed up things about like the world that we live in. And it's just, I don't know, that's what I think why I relate a lot to Fujimoto as an author, because like, I don't know, I think we're relatively around the same age. Maybe he's like 29 or something. I'm 26. So yeah, I'm a boomer pretty much. And I don't know, something about Fujimoto's writing just really connects with me, and I just really love his work. Something about it, I almost can't even put it into words. It just, I think the way he writes younger characters is just so accurate, and they share a lot of emotions that I've shared either currently or in my past. And I don't know, just pretty much every character has something that I can relate to about, and I think that's why Fujimoto wrote them, and like he had those feelings as well. So whatever, I'm kind of like rambling on here, but I guess that's just one of the reasons why I like Fujimoto. But anyways, just the don't come to school meme being implemented into his manga is just some of the funniest shit I've ever seen, and just so Fujimoto-like, and something you wouldn't see in any other manga pretty much. Like only Fujimoto would do this, and it's just awesome. So what is going to happen with Yuko from here? Everyone thought Yuko was going to be the supporting character, and everyone was worried that she's going to die. Like, no, Fujimoto, please don't kill off Yuko. And now it turns out that Yuko seems to be a problem that we might have to fix, as Asa might be like, Asa has like a righteous sense of justice, and Asa probably is not okay with this. Asa probably immediately recognized that like, Yuko, you shouldn't have killed that guy. You can't go around killing people. That's not good. So we might get into the situation where Yuko actually turns out to be one of the first like enemies of the part, or someone that Asa needs to like control in some way, or I don't know, get her under control or something. I think that Yoru is going to have some beef with this as well, as Yoru already sees Yuko as a threat and wants to kill her, because it was mentioned a few chapters ago that the more you care about someone and the more guilt you feel about turning them into a weapon, the more powerful they would be. So Yuko's already got that target over her head from Yoru, and I think that Yoru, now that she's like, wait, that chick can read our thoughts and knows everything that's happening in my head and your head, Yoru's not going to like that very much at all, and is probably going to want to take Yuko out as soon as possible. So right now, I think Yuko might turn into more of like an enemy role, this chaotic character that needs to be taken under control and needs to be stopped in some way, which is obviously the complete opposite of what we thought she was going to be. So Fujimoto continuing to subvert expectations and make just really interesting characters and doing fun things with characters. I just love to see it. So is Yuko really going to shoot her school up? Because we know that Yuko doesn't necessarily have devil powers. She can only read people's minds. So is Yuko going to bring a gun to school? I don't know. That might be a good way to like lead out Chainsaw Man, because what they were talking about at the beginning of the chapter is like, we need to lure a devil to the school so we can lead out Chainsaw Man. And maybe Yuko going to school and trying to kill some of Asa's bullies might actually make Denji, act on that and stop Yuko. Oh shit, I just thought about that. How sick would that be? If in the next chapter, it's Denji versus Yuko, and maybe Yuko like reaches further into the Justice Devil's powers and they fight. Ooh, Yuko, man. I did not think we would be talking about Yuko, performing a school shooting in the next chapter of Chainsaw Man. If you would have asked me in chapter 100, 102, no, never in like a million years where I thought that's where a character was going. But here we are, Yuko. This video is officially demonetized. Literally not even going to argue with it, what we've been talking about. So thank you, YouTube. If it's, I swear, if it's not age restricted or demonetized, like God, their bots are a nightmare. They don't know what they're doing. But anyways, guys, this whole chapter review is pretty much off script. I was just kind of talking because like, usually I write out a script with things for the videos, but this one was like just so quick and to the point, and there was really just one segment that needed to be talked about, and it was just kind of fun to do it, just like hanging out with you guys. So thank you all so much for watching Chainsaw Man Chapter 105 review and discussions. Hopefully I got my thoughts out in a way that was sort of coherent. So like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. I will see you guys next week for another Chainsaw Man chapter review, as well as we'll be able to discuss that first episode of the anime, which is also airing. So very exciting stuff coming out for Chainsaw Man anime, new chapters, and Yuko shooting her school up. Very awesome. So all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.